you'll be able to apply it to a parallel domain. The next generation AI is still not there. And I'm working in that field. We're trying to get it there to look at causality, look at problem solving, look at cause-effect relationships. So what are the challenges looking at AI, Internet of Things, and any other technologies in digital transformation? How can businesses use these technologies, including AI, IoT, and other digital technologies effectively? And what are the challenges? How they can use it effectively? And three, culture plays a very important role. I mean, you can have the best possible technology, but if your culture doesn't accept it, then there is an issue, right? So how do you see, if you see, I worked a lot in mergers and acquisitions. A company A may have the best technology. Company B has a different culture, and it requires company A, but they don't work because primarily it's not assimilated. So culture becomes very important. So on that note, so this is a very free discussion. There is some structure. These are pointers. Again, as I said earlier, these are not etched in stone. Let's share our experiences across sectors: agriculture, aquaculture, handlooms, and multiple other sectors, public policy perspectives. We have sir from the government, what in terms of digital public infrastructure, what has been done, what can be done, and things like that. Okay, so on that note, can we go around the room for a quick introduction, please?
I think we have already been introduced by so I'm Gautam Barua. I'm Professor Emeritus at IIIT Guwahati. I've been in the education sector for a long time, and I was a director at IIT Guwahati, then at IIIT Guwahati, also involved with NIT Silchur's development, and also IIT Patna in its first year. So that's all.
Hello, thank you, sir, and thank you, NEHD, for inviting me. My name is Anjan Pathak, and I am the CTO and co-founder of Vantage Circle. Let me give you a bit of background. Basically, I am born and brought up in Assam. I studied in Cotton College. I have a friend here, basically sitting here. We studied together, and then I went to Nagpur. After that, I worked in UK. I was in UK for about 15 years, and I decided to come back. And that's where I started this company with my friend. Again, he's my friend, and he sits out of Delhi. But we have been running this company for now 10 years from Guwahati. And I think now we may be calling ourselves as the biggest IT company from Northeast India. And our target audience is HR. So we play in the domain of HR. So there is this nice software revolution that is happening across the world, which is SaaS, software as a service. I don't know how many of you know, but most of the programs, software programs, I mean, most of the business software programs are now running in SaaS. So we are playing in that SaaS industry. We build HR software. So yeah, I think that's the background. And right now, we are also into health and wellness. And personally, I am very much into health and wellness. I run marathons. I've run about 10 marathons. I'm again, training for a marathon right now. So yeah, that's about me. I'm really happy to be within this great set of panelists. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nilay Verma. I'm a career consultant, but I did start as a banker. Within 2 years, I had the largest NPA in my NPA in my portfolio, so I was hired by Pricewaterhouse to restructure a bank, and that's why my consulting journey started. I've worked with PwC, Accenture, and KPMG, ran out of large firms to work for, so we set up Primus Partners 5 years back, but very proud to say that today we are the largest Indian management consulting company, and now we operate globally. About 10 years back, working in MeitY, I got the opportunity to work on the National E-Governance Plan, and I have been part of that journey to see how technology has driven change in India, including projects like income tax and passport, something that I've worked with the government to design. Very happy to be here today and sharing my thoughts.
Thank you. So the basic introduction has already been done. I'm Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and IT. But more importantly, I am born on the Nagaland cadre. I'm 1995 batch in Nagaland cadre, and I spent a lot of time in the Northeast, especially Nagaland. I worked as Deputy Commissioner in Mokokchung and in Kohima and various capacities, and have very fond association with the Northeast. And when I looking at, unfortunately, because I was traveling, I could not be in touch with the moderator with regard to what the flow will be. So my thoughts were only about tech sector, but tech sector is special relations with the Northeast, and what we need to do to harness the potential that exists, especially amongst the youth of the Northeast. So maybe we will be discussing, apart from the issues that you mentioned, about how technology can help push forward the Northeast and help us realize the actual potential of Northeast beyond just thinking in terms of handloom, handicrafts and culture.
So good afternoon to all of you. I am Umed Singh Shekhawat. I am representing SSB Digital. Basically, SSB Digital is a part of SSBI group of companies that specifically works on emerging technologies like IoT, AI, ML, big data, as well as specifically on blockchain. We have implemented many different projects in India, around the globe, that covers IoT, blockchain, as well as convergence of technology. That means we are using all the technologies at a one go. So we have expertise, we have professional experience on delivering a customized solution that delivers the solution to the problem. So thank you so much.
Hello, nice to see you all. I'm a hardware man, means I do things that you see. And we have to work for the people. And if you see today, you must have seen people called TomTom, this and that, all these things as recently really taken on the roads. But there is no challenge to them. But if you see in the Northeast, we have introduced some rickshaws which were actually done for electrics. And they are the one that is giving challenge to the things. That is what we think of. And we are using technology like coming to textiles. My background itself is a textile. So we have designed looms using textiles, sophisticated technologies. And agriculture, we understood what is the problem. Everybody is talking about IoT and all these things. For last 4 or 5 years, I am deeply involved in agriculture, and we know the problems. It's not a problem of blockchain or IoT or anything. When we did something to do drip irrigations to control it, we found the places where we are working, there is no internet, and the whole system fails. But now we are also working how to do it, local networking or something, all these things. So it will be very interesting to see Northeast as it is. It's very different from geography to all. So I hope we'll be able to contribute. Looms is definitely a success. We have done interesting things onto that. And we have used the technology that is appropriate for that. And let's hope we'll be able to continue contributing to the Northeast. Thank you.
Okay, I think the most important thing is adaptation. So I'm going to adapt these questions based on what I've heard here. So it's a very interesting set of panels. So the first question that I would like you to answer, either from the perspective, ideally from the perspective of the Northeast, or if you don't have experience in the Northeast, then you can answer it generally. Now, what are the biggest challenges that you face, perhaps, when you take emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and Internet of Things or other things down to the ground, particularly in the Northeast? And let's not look at technologies alone. Let's include digital public infrastructure. It's critical, right? I think rephrasing this question, we may ask, what are those minimum things that are required for all these technologies to work on the ground, right? At the end of the day, they have to do some problem solving, whether it's agriculture, whether it's aquaculture, whether it's handlooms, whether it's communication. And I think, what are those basic things that are required? And given your knowledge of the Northeast, so let's go around the room. So who would like to start? I don't want to go in any order. Sir? Yes.
chance, then I can.
No, there was a preference that the order need not be followed.
Okay, I didn't know that. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for setting this, and it's indeed an honor and privilege to be amongst such distinguished co-panelists with such diverse experiences. In fact, Professor Barua would not remember, but I was in IIT Kanpur when he was teaching me, and it's good to see Chanchal sir also, with whom I overlapped in college. So, great to be here, and very interesting topic, especially Ashtalakshmi, as the Northeast is known as the 8 states. If you have to really realize the potential, the question that you asked needs to be addressed. And when we look at technology right from day one, always one myth or one misconception that many people in the mainland have about the Northeast is that it's very often regarded as one homogeneous piece of a land which is detached on the map as it hangs out, and it's like one common area comprising of all the 8 states. But that's like a big misconception, because all the 8 states of Northeast are unique, and there's a distinct difference amongst the states. In fact, if you go to Agartala, Agartala would be closer to West Bengal rather than to Manipur or Arunachal Pradesh. Within the states also, there's a lot of diversity. Like, for example, even Nagaland has got like, I think around 16 to 17 states, districts now, but it's got 16 tribes. And each tribe has its own language, each tribe has its own culture. So there's a lot of diversity within the Northeast. So first and foremost, we'll have to think of each unit or each group of people as a separate identity in order to ensure that what we can do for them. Now, when it comes to technology, again, that we always used to refer to something called chicken snake. The access to the Northeast, physical access, is also through a very narrow piece of land with which the whole Northeast is connected. But when it comes to internet connectivity, when it comes to fiber connectivity, it becomes much more vulnerable, because the fiber connectivity is also through that point only. For a very long time, there has been talks about having a internet access point through Chittagong, which will connect the Northeast directly, but I don't know whether that has actually become a reality, but that's a major problem. So any snap in the fiber used to earlier ensure that the whole Northeast used to get cut off. And within the Northeast also, especially for example Nagaland, if I look at, like the entire connectivity within Nagaland for all IT services, digital services, is through fiber, which is laid on the ground in most parts, and through the PGCIL cables at other parts. But there also, since landslides are very common, internet connectivity keeps on going off very frequently. And if you look at, like, for example, a district in Nagaland called Kifre, which is one of the aspirational districts also. It's like if you travel from Kohima to Kifre, it would take you anywhere between 8 to 10 hours to reach. So from here to Kohima, you will take around 10 hours to reach, but from Kohima to Kifre, again, it takes 10 hours of arduous journey to reach there. And very often, the internet there gets cut off. So if the video conferencing or any service is to be done, it creates a big challenge. The mobile internet, of course, has become ubiquitous across the whole Northeast. That's like a lifesaver with which people are connected. So that's one big challenge. Connectivity remains a big challenge when it comes to providing digital services in the Northeast. The other big challenge is with regard to availability of institutions where training of people and skilling in IT can be done. While NILIT, which is part of our ministry, National Institute of E-Learning and IT, has made a lot of investment, and I think they've set up centers in almost all the northeastern states, Kohima, Manipur, Imphal, Mizoram, Guwahati, Arunachal. In every state, Sikkim, there is a center. And they train people into IT skilling and all, and that has helped many of them get jobs in the BPO sector. But when you look at the mainland, in many of the BPOs, you will find people from the Northeast who are working there. But then again, if the same jobs could be made available in the Northeast, their access voice-enabled services, and that would really expand the outreach for technology to them. Then in the field of AI, the AI researchers, if you look at, like what the problem that is faced other places also, like if they have to run an algorithm to get access to AI compute becomes very challenging. So that's again a problem that they have. If you look at the handicraft, handloom sectors, there also there can be a lot of AI applications, especially with regard to designing, with regard to ensuring that, like for example, these designs are there. But if somebody has to simulate and make interesting designs based on this, then AI models can help improve the designing process. help ensure that they would not weave everything and then realize that we needed to change something. So AR, VR visualizations, applications of IoT in managing the machines, inventory management, use of AI inventory management, there are multiple applications that can be done. Similarly, the tourism sector, there can be a lot of applications, especially giving a AR, VR based experience of what lies there. So very often people don't even know what Zuku Valley will be like, or what a cultural festival will be like. Like right now, Hornbill Festival is on in Nagaland. But if there is a means of using AI-based technologies, people can get this experience, decide to go to the place. In fact, I can go on and on, but I think I will leave it to the other panelists.
Very, very interesting point. Just to interject, just to amplify what he said, just 2 points, I'm not taking away his time or others' time. He's talked of infrastructure, and it's very important. If you go back and see, if you go to the RBI Trend and Progress report, I work in the financial sector, and if you go to the RBI Trend and Progress report, you will find the highest failures for the Aadhaar-enabled payment services from the Northeast. That's because of infrastructure. And AEPS failure rates are highest in the Northeast. And we'll talk, when we talk of solutions to the infrastructure, that's critical, because unless you unlock that infrastructure bit, what are the alternatives? We'll talk about what are the alternatives to terrestrial broadband in the Northeast. Can satellite broadband play a role? But we'll come back to that. But thank you very much, sir. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah. Hello. So I will come from the point of view of being a technologist. I've spent all my life in technology. And let me confess, AI is a very misunderstood term. One of our competitors, they changed their company name was xyz.com, and they changed the name from xyz.com to .ai, and they became AI enabled. So that's the kind of confusion we have got in the AI world right now. But let me make the basics right. I also became a marketer later on. Why marketer? Because I think marketing is a very, very, again, another misunderstood concept. And also India, at the international level, we are worst in marketing. Let me confess, because we are running a company which are selling products in US right now. So it's a very big challenge to get marketers in India. And in marketing, there is an interesting term called target audience. And target audience is basically, whom are you speaking to? So when I was thinking about this convention, this panel, this talk, I was thinking, who is the target audience I'm talking to? Right? I actually don't know very well. So I'm hoping that you all are, people who are interested in AI and use of technology in business. So it's a very vague set of audience, okay? But I'll still try and explain at what kind of AI you can use, okay? Because it's a question about AI. So I feel that AI has got different levels, okay? And I would like to think in my mind there are 4 levels of, this is my understanding, I might be wrong because there are very experienced people here, but this is my understanding. At the basic level, AI, we are all using AI. Why? Because we are all using AI in terms of any application that you're using. Any mobile app you use, they are using AI behind the scene. Any chatbot like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, they are all using AI. So at that level, we are all using AI, right? I think everyone uses AI. Second level AI use. Second level AI use is that we are using AI tools. So I think some of you hopefully have used ChatGPT by now, right? This is one of the most, this is a tool that became so ubiquitous, and everyone, we could experience AI firsthand, right? So this is an AI tool that everyone is using, and there are a lot of other tools, by the way. There's Bard, there are a lot of, so what I would want to say is like, at the generative AI level, so ChatGPT is a generative AI tool. So at the generative AI level, the AI has advanced a lot, and there are a lot of tools that are coming, and I think this is what has made AI accessible to everyone. Because even now, right, Elon Musk is trying to make, the car to autonomous driving, right? So that AI world is, I think, still evolving. But in the generative world, which is what ChatGPT, Bard, and all these tools use, it is very advanced. So in the second level, we are using these AI tools. So that is second level. If you are using AI, that is great, okay? If you are in a business, that's what I think we should all try. This is the second level of AI, which is make your employees or make your peers or whatever use AI tools at your organization. Third level of AI, okay? Third level of AI, I believe, is using these tools or using this tool, you create your own models. These are custom models, they call it. So you need to really train these models, but you train on top of these existing models. I hope the basics are clear. So you train your custom model on the, we are trying to do that, but as a company, we are a technology company, please try and understand, we are trying to do that, but we are not very successful. Because even for at this level, right, you need really big infrastructure, like GPUs and all. At the fourth level, there is these companies who are creating big models, and they are training them. And believe me, there are only a handful of companies in the world, like OpenAI, like Microsoft, Google. They are creating these big, massive, training models and everything. I think this is something that probably we should not even try, right? Like maybe we can try in the future, but this is what I'd like to get some advice from other panelists. But I think this is the ultimate one. But I think there, if we can be at the first and second level, right? I think that is a great way of thinking about AI.
Okay, thank you. Next.
If I can add to the conversation, I think Abhishek Singh sir has spoken a lot about the challenges. I think I mentioned in my introduction that I worked on the National E-Governance Plan, and I still recall Mr. R. Chandrasekhar used to be the Joint Secretary at that particular point of time, and he used to say very often, he used to say that people make a difference, not technology or institution. And I want to build on that and bring it to AI. And I think, and I want to give 2 or 3 recent examples of my conversation, because how do we solve the problem? Because the infrastructure problem is not going to go away anytime soon. And I think it requires imagination and problem solving, and that's really where AI can help, because it's not a constraint any longer, even if you're in Northeast. Very recently, in fact, this week, we were in a conversation with one of the state governments, and he posed a problem to us. His question was, why do I need websites in my states? I have 65 websites in my states. He says, why do I need that? And it was a very, very interesting question. And he's essentially said, with generative AI and with the data that I have available with me, and with WhatsApp being the most common form of communication, my website should only be thisstate.gov.in, and there's just a text box which says, what do you want? If you can't read, if you can't write, you can speak. If you can't read, there are ways to interface with that. And with my data model, I will be able to provide the single source of truth, not having to do that. And I thought the solution exists, the technology exists, it's the imagination that we really need to bring in place if we really want to leverage AI. I would also make 2 other points. I think the common conversation today in AI seems to be very commercial, business-driven conversation. I think in this forum and the forum that we all work in, I think we need to bring that back to how public sector and larger AI for good can happen. And again, want to give 2 examples. You spoke about agriculture as one of the areas. Again, we are working on a program or a solution in agriculture on financial inclusion. Today, and we've got a number of people working on the ground, a lot of farmers pay up to 20%, 40% interest rate to raise money. They are as they say, they're the biggest venture capitalist in the country because everything is at risk. Today, we are working on a pilot project to look at a field and say, based upon the time, the projections that we have for rainfall, the temperature, the soil color, and what you're going to sow, we can predict technically with a 90 to 95% accuracy what is going to be the yield of that particular piece of land in 3 months' time. Now imagine if we can link this back to the banking system to say, here is a model which provides you certain amount of outcomes in terms of what the realization would be, and for banks to be able to provide at 12%, 13% rate versus farmers getting at 40 to 60%. I think that's really is what AI we need to be focused on. I have many other things, but I'll come back a little later. But I will stop by saying, let's stop talking technology, at least when we talk about AI, etc., and let's talk about problem. What is the problem that we can solve? I think we're at a cusp of technology evolution with the capability that we have and where we are moving, that we can solve really large problems today, and we do not have to get constrained by the past.
Great.
Yeah, so I agree with the sir. Basically, I would like to share one of our project. So we have implemented one of the project for IoT-based traceability, specific for NEHSDC, where specific challenge which they were facing was how to build a trust between the viewers and the buyers. So as of now, we have seen that there are many different technologies available in the market. There are many softwares that are running on different silos of data has been created. But when it comes to customer handling or customer satisfaction, so you imagine when a customer goes to a shopping mall or goes to a shop where they buy a handmade product, then what thought comes into his mind? He wanted to know that whether it is genuine or not. The basic thing is that how we can create a trust into the customer's mind that this is the product which is genuine and which they are purchasing at a high value product. So NEHSDC has undertaken a very good initiative where they have integrated an IoT devices. What they have done at the ground level, at a grassroots level, all the viewers who are using the looms. So an IoT device has been fitted on each and every looms. That IoT device is tracking the angular as well as gyroscopic movements of the hand. So that these particular movements are being tracked and traced, and a special AI-based technology is detecting the pattern, whether it is a handmade or it is a power loom made or any other factory made. So that data has been captured specifically when a viewer starts viewing. At that particular point of time, the system starts generating the data, it manipulates the data, it calibrates that, okay, this is the hand movement which is going on. Then a person at the viewer side clicks a photo, takes a video of that particular movements. That is been linked with a QR-based tag, Taffeta tag, that will be installed on that product. All that data are being captured, a product ID is generated within the blockchain, and that is being referenced and hashed within the blockchain ecosystem. Now, all that activities, all that metadata are being created, are being authenticated at that particular point of time. When it passes from one stakeholder to another stakeholder, so a validation takes place. Okay, this is the data which is coming, and this is the end product which is passing from point A to point B. This way, in between, if anyone tries to tamper or anyone tries to enter a fake or a counterfeited product, then immediately when a buyer tries to scan that QR code, he will immediately know this is not a genuine product, it's a completely invalid product. One more thing I would like to add over here is that we have also provided geographical location from where the product has been originated. Also, the details, the photographs and videos which were taken at that particular point of time are also been showcased to the buyers. Also, the authentication takes place and complete traceability will be maintained over here. So here, what we are trying to overcome the challenges are, we are building a trust. Most important part is the building the trust between the viewers and the buyers. The satisfaction that the viewer will get and the buyer will get will be showcased using the AI-based, blockchain-based and IoT-based technology. So here we have converged all the three technologies. We have exhausted all the features of each and every parameters, so that the end result is something where both the parties are satisfied. And one more thing is that we are also calculating the idle condition as well as the working condition of the loom. That means how much time the viewer is spending on the loom. That is also being tracked using that IoT devices. So these particular values are being forwarded in terms of blockchain. They are been forwarded in peer-to-peer nodes of the blockchain. They are being validated over there. And then a dashboard will show that this particular viewer is spending so and so time on this particular loom. The plus point is that we know about that the direct benefit transfers and the incentives which are being provided by the government to the viewers. Now, how will you know that these incentives or the direct benefit transfers are being utilized effectively? So the activities, the production which viewers are doing, they all are being tracked and traced, and it is being authenticated at each and every level. So this is one of the example. There is one more example, but I will.
Okay, thank you very much. Both of you gave excellent examples. I will add to them because I work in both the areas of finance and handlooms and agriculture. But let's go to Professor now. And of course, Dr. Barua wanted to have the last laugh, so we'll give him the last word, huh? Right? Okay. Okay.
Coming into technology, I said we are working with IoT, especially in agricultural things. And as you know, we are working in areas which is, you cannot imagine. IIT is there, and by road, a place that we are working is 25 kilometers. Aerial distance will be 15 kilometers. When we started, there was no electricity. There are electricities now, but the farms and we are working, there is no electricity. So there is a problem of managing with solar, and solar you have limited things, especially in winter. So we are managing everything with IoT. We had problems getting not getting this. The other aspect is Northeast used to have so much of water, but when you need water, there is no water. It dries off. So we had to really find out how to stock the water. As a engineers, from the old days, I can say, we started building dams and all these things. So in rainy days, there is waters, but in winter, there is no waters. What happens? Water goes from the below. We don't get on the surface for the things and goes out somewhere else. So it was a challenging type of things. Now we are trying to find it out where exactly water is there, using various techniques of isotopes and all these things, and trying to catch them there, putting a well where the things are going. So that we are doing. At the same time, we are working with tea estates, etc., for tea tourism. So we are extensively going with your GIS. GIS means the things, how they are telling that, how you know. Before you go to the tea garden, whether it is attractive for or not, it is there. So we are going with that, tagging those things. If you go to the map, only problems we still have is problem of the viewers having that proper systems, a high-end system. But here it's come, that same village that we are working, people has ordinary, what you call, mobiles. Now you can pay the electricity, but to pay the electricity, finally you have to end up going to a service center or something where you lose the money. Whole day's wages are lost. So it is a very critical thing. And what we found out, it is the cyber crime that is preventing them going into maintaining a bank account. That is another thing where we may not be immediately be possible to work, but we have to think that digital economy at that level is becoming very difficult because everybody is not finding it easy. They have lost the trust because somebody has asked them password, something, and they're gone. So, but challenges are there, but I think we'll be able to overcome one by one or serially from different aspects. That's what I would like to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, so I told him that please give me last so that I don't have to say much. Everybody's already said. Anyway, I just thought I will focus on the thing what was mentioned about AI and IoT. So I'll just talk about AI. So I think the challenge about generative AI today, I'm talking in general now, and of course it pertains to Northeast also, is that the tools that are available, the products that are available are all in English. Okay? So you ask questions and you get amazing answers, but they are all in English. So the rest of the world is now wondering what to do. Of course, the Chinese are going to take care of it. Because what is the problem? The problem is to build these models, you need data. And what these guys have done, OpenAI and Google and all, they already had the data. At least they farmed the internet, and then also got data from WhatsApp and not maybe WhatsApp, but at least Facebook and Instagram and all that. Now, where do we get the data from? Okay, the problem is that, as I said, Chinese will take care of it because Chinese have their own ecosystem. They have their own websites. They have their own, Facebook and Instagram equivalents. So they have data, and they're going to do it. But what about the rest of the world? Forget. Let's not worry about the rest of the world. What about India? Every language in India is facing this same problem. Because until and unless I can ask a question in Assamese and get answer from the chat GPT equivalent in the lingo that I'm used to, with the nuances that I'm used to, it's not going to be useful for the layman. I mean, we can have a solution. What is that? I ask the question in Assamese. We have excellent translation systems now. The same generative AI will translate to English, ask OpenAI or ChatGPT the question. The answer will come in English and we'll translate it back to Assamese. But that is not enough. That's not going to work. It's only going to work for factual stuff. But if you want to talk about emotions, you want to talk about other stuff, you want to talk to a human-like bot, you need local data. And that is the biggest challenge. We don't have the data. And why the challenge is there in India? Because we all speak in English. And most of the data that we are generating is in English. But the local language data is very little. And the difficult problem is it's not a question of digitizing. You can't just take Munshi Premchand's novels and put them on the net. That language is totally different from today's Hindi-speaking Gen Z. Okay? We need Gen Z language. We need the WhatsApp language that is going in Hindi also. We have to capture that. How do we do it? And unless we are able to do this, it's going to be a problem. And of course, when you come to the Northeast, except for maybe Assamese, and of course Bengali is already there in other states, other languages are very small. The number of people are very small. It's all over the place. So maybe some form of translation is going to be inevitable for these other languages. But I think we have to think big about where AI, how do we own the generative AI space?
Very interesting sets of issues have come up, There's this issue of cyber security. I mean, it's very, very serious what Professor raised. And I'm not a self-confessed hacker, but anybody who works in technology can do this. So you have many different kinds of ways that trust is very important when you have technology. You can have various kinds of attacks. And the more you digitize, the more exposed you are, right? So what kind of safeguards you have for that is one issue. And secondly, on the IoT experiment, it's very interesting. Yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister said Northeast is going to power India. And if that powering is going to come, it's going to come a lot from traceability. And that's from farm to fiber, fiber to fabric, fabric to garment. And they have done this part of fiber to garment, so which is excellent. That's a great idea. And Sir was talking of the challenges of digital public infrastructure where internet is not available. What solutions possibly can lie there? If you talk to Elon Musk, right? And if you talk to Elon Musk, he'll say, forget terrestrial broadband. Look at low Earth orbit satellites. I work in that area. I work in multiple areas, but LEO satellites are an alternative. They're not the complete alternative, but they are an alternative. Constellations are going up, but they're expensive. So what alternatives can you have for digital public infrastructure? Particularly, if you're looking at the concept of the idea that you said of trust, and if you're looking at the idea of digital public infrastructure, you do a UPI transaction, you do an AEPS transaction, it fails, then where is the level of trust? That is the issue. So these need to be addressed. And Sir was talking about financial inclusion and very interesting issues. There are interesting experiments going in aquaculture. For example, Assam has huge potential for aquaculture. Biomass is being estimated using satellite and AI. If you can estimate biomass, and you can tell the banker, my dear friend, this is the biomass underwater right now, and this is what you can base your credit scoring on. They become more bankable. Going back to the same point that instead of 40%, you can get them at 10 and 11%. So, and Sir raised a very interesting point on conversation. Again, something which I've been working on. You need, everything is typed. How many people can type? People love talking. And if you see, conversational AI is going to become very, very important. And for that, you need data and you need vernacular, right? On that, I've just quite quickly summarized some of these issues, and we can share more examples and go ahead, because I think we've gone over all of the other questions. The one thing that I would like you to focus on is maybe share more examples. I don't want to dominate the space. I can give examples, but I don't want to. One is I would like you to focus on culture in organizations, both within government and private sector. What changes are required to assimilate technology? How much is it a barrier, right? How much is there a barrier for that? Two, what else can be done for digital public infrastructure, particularly in the case of biometrics? See, if you look at Aadhaar is the most primary form of technology today. If Aadhaar authentication fails, you have something called adaptive biometrics today, which is coming. Maybe India can go in for that. Sir can comment on that, and we'll go ahead with other issues.
Thank you. Thank you for really insightful observations from the fellow panelists, and thanks for you for summarizing it. With regard to specific question with regard to biometrics and what the alternatives are. So like if you had read recently, the UID authority, which administers the biometrics, has kind of perfected the face recognition based authentication. So now instead of just doing by fingerprints, the technologies and the algorithms which does face recognition is pretty accurate. In fact, if you look at the one very common example, especially in this time of the year, the Jeevan Praman, for pensioners when they have to prove the liveliness certificate, all of it is be done by the face authentication module which the UID has implemented, and they got an award, international award also recently for that. So that will become probably the fundamental way of identifying people rather than the iris and the biometrics. And that is very, very found to be very accurate. We all use it. In fact, when we do our, when we use our phones and all to lock, nowadays we don't need to remember those codes or the patterns. We all do it with face authentication. That is something that will make, that is something that will become more common as we offer services, because one of the most important element of offering any service is what bankers call KYC. And KYC norms results in a lot of problems. Everywhere a citizen has to prove who he is, like whether he's going for a Manrega work or whether he's trying to take his pension, scholarships. So that can be solved by a biometric, image-based biometrics, and that can really solve. The other thing and that will really enable delivery of services across the country will be when we are able to standardize the data set, especially now we are doing it for the purposes of artificial intelligence, but when the data and information of all departments are standardized as per defined standards and metadata standards, and if they are kind of made shareable with a proper protocol across departments, then a citizen may not be required to prove his credentials to each public authority. Today what happens if if a parent wants to take his child for school admission, the school admission department verifies everything, who he is. When he goes to the hospital, again he has to prove his identity. When he goes to the block office, when he goes to the Tahsil office, every interface that the citizen has with the government, we make him prove his credentials time and again. So with the standard data governance architecture that is being planned as part of the India AI mission, we would be able to ensure that data exchange between various departments will become seamless with the consent of the citizen. That would ensure that we'll be able to implement something what we call ask only once. If any information of a citizen is known to me, and if the citizen is giving his consent, that can be shared to someone else without he requiring to apply for a service or something there also. A use case for this can be, for example, if somebody is a beneficiary under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So he's a wage laborer, he's poor, that's why he is going for doing wage labor for 100 days. if you look at the, so eligibility condition of the Manrega beneficiary is normally determined by, say, the Rural Development Department. They do a verification, person is coming, signing in the muster roll, he is doing wage labor. So that person is verified that he physically exists and is poor, that's why he is doing that work. The same person also needs a ration card, also needs a Ayushman Bharat health card. Does he need to apply again to the health department to get an Ayushman Bharat health card? Or can this data of the Manrega database with his geographical credentials, kis gaon mein hai, kya karta hai, be shared with the health department, and he can be issued an Ayushman Bharat health card without he requiring to apply for it. Similar things, he should be given a ration card. Similarly, we have databases with regard to credentials of people who belongs to which caste, especially minorities caste, for which welfare measures, scholarships are meant. And we have databases in schools. So the one database of the government knows that a person is belonging to a category for which a scholarship exists. The other database in the government knows that this person is studying in the school or college and there is a scheme under which scholarship is given. When this information exists within the government, do we need to ask him to apply for a scholarship, fill in a scholarship form? Can we proactively offer these services to the citizens? So that is the change, and that's the kind of, with the streamlining the way we deliver services, with the streamlining the way we operate our databases, standardizing them, cleaning them, allowing consent-based sharing across ecosystem will really transform services. And this will mean a lot for people across the country, but more so in the Northeast, wherein going to a public office sometimes is a huge cost and it takes a lot of time. Because though the area looks small, but as I mentioned, Kohima to Kifre itself is 10 hours. And there are districts within district from where if somebody has to go from a village to a collector's office or to the block office, the seal office, that again takes a lot of time. So if these services can be delivered electronically, digitally, by allowing this, then it will really, really be transformational. I will just, other than this, I will mention one more use case and then I'll let others to talk about the rest. When you talk of emerging technologies, one very, again, use case that has a lot of applications in the Northeast is drones. And a lot has happened in the drones across the ecosystem. And the Ministry of Civil Aviation and Ministry of IT have together come out, liberalized a lot of things. And drones today are at that level wherein it can be used for lot of services. In fact, it has been tried out in the Northeast, in Meghalaya, for delivering medicines, delivering vaccines. The drones are also used for supervising work which happens on highways, getting to know what's happening in a landslide affected area where humans cannot go, monitoring progress work of various things, delivering items. And I am sure that within our lifetimes we will see drones as a means of transport also, which will happen. Humans can also go. So again, investment in drones and applications of drones in the Northeast is again an example area or a use case that I would like to look on.
That's a wonderful example. I'll add later, but we'll go to Nilaya, please.
So I just want to, I think
Yeah,
Sir has spoken about, I think the government needs to partner with tech companies to develop the data sets that we need in local language. I think that is something that is critical if we have to use the benefit of AI for common good. I think that's something that we should do it. You spoke about culture, and I just wanted to talk about that and a few other points. I think from a culture perspective, leadership, to me, if you want to make the change, becomes the most important thing. I used to work in an organization where I was at a fairly senior level, and I joined this organization and I looked at my training program calendar, and I was spending the most amount of time on training, and I was the managing director. And I did reach out to a bunch of people and said that, look, I think I've arrived in life, right? I am the managing director, why do I need training? And the answer was, if leadership understands and appreciates, it has a domino effect down the organization. So when you talk about culture in an organization to be willing to accept change, I think the leadership is where we need to focus on.
You start there.
Yeah,
The buck starts there.
You start there. You focus on that particular point. I also wanted to talk about, people talked about cyber security and spam and phishing, etc. I think awareness is key to addressing that issue. While technology will, but awareness will. Again, I'll give an example from my own organization. We run this phishing attempt within our own employees, wherein we essentially say, and it's a very, very intuitive. For example, we are setting up an office in US. And so the phishing mail went to a number of people saying, as you're aware of this, we are setting up an office in the US. You've been identified to be part of this. Please click on this particular line to be able to provide your information. So and when they, obviously it's our own attempt, so the moment they clicked on this, they actually said, you haven't done your training well enough, because here were the 3 telltale signs of what that phishing attempt was. I think if we have to bring that awareness part of it. And let me just end by talking about a couple of use cases, because to me, that brings to life what we are talking about. Again, very, very recently, in the last 2 weeks, we've done a pilot project for one of the states using Google Earth, satellite, and drones to identify cannabis production. And we were surprised how accurate the model could do. And we've trained that because it has been done, etc., including shadow farming. So we realized a lot of cannabis production also happens in shadow farming or between forest. And now here is an example of what AI and information. When we started the project, we didn't realize Google Earth does the same spot review every 3 days. So that's really the power of how we can actually use solving things. And again, last example I want to give is ONDC. Personally, very, very impressed what ONDC can do. Today, there are already apps available on ONDC. For example, this handicraft, right? You could click a photograph, and it can help you in language, in local language, not in all languages, but in some languages to say, okay, what is the price? Do you have other colors as well? Where do you want to sell it, etc.? And it translates and provides you interface. Because one of the challenges, especially that I've seen when you talk about in larger thing, is if you want, and you spoke of, in the agenda we talked about MSME, and that's the largest part of Northeast. Anything other than a mobile, if you want them to invest to run their business, you're expecting too much. And today, mobiles have huge capability and to do things for you.
Okay, great.
Sir, so I just wanted to put a small point over here. So regarding the data-centric approach, actually what I wanted to say is that we have legacy systems that are running with different silos of data, with different softwares running on different compatibility modes. Now the challenge is that we are facing is that how to make it interoperable. So there should be some mechanism that allows to fetch data from any of the legacy systems so that we can get a standalone system that shows a unified kind of data. As sir has mentioned that when a person or a citizen visits for an Aadhaar card verification, then when he goes for a hospital for some treatment, so every time they have to fetch data from a different silo of that particular sector. Here as a solution, what we can do is that we can follow a FAIR data principle that is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So whatever data we are storing, so it should have some findability. That means whatever queries are fired from any of the devices or any of the softwares, that should go to a specific database, and it should fetch some of the data from one database, other information from another database, and it should give the result. It should be accessible from any compatible device, either it's iOS, smartphone, or Windows, or any other Apple system. It should be interoperable. That means any of the system or any of the devices, either or any of the data which is residing on ERP, SAP, or any database system, it should have a mechanism through which when I fire a query, It might go to an MySQL data, it fetches few table from there, it goes to SQL data or any other database and it fetches data and it shows me a unified view. So this way, findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable of data is something which can solve such kind of problem in which we get a unified view of that particular system. Another thing is that we have seen many data breaches. Like say, for example, if I'm making a online shopping from an e-commerce, suddenly after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I got a call like you have purchased so-and-so appliances, now you will get some rewards. So for that, you will get one OTP and you have to share that OTP. In that, many fraudsters used to call you and used to get. Now, how are this data being breached? What are the issues? Why this kind of data breaches are happening from the databases? So what we can do? Blockchain has one very good solution for that. Blockchain is running a smart function. What smart function does, whenever a request comes to a blockchain ecosystem, first of all, it will validate the request which is coming from the user, whether the user is specifically allowed to access that data or not. Second thing is it will validate the device from which the request is coming. So the validation part takes place before the data is being accessed. The second thing is that we are running a solution that requires a data-centric mode. That means data should have features to defend itself. Say, for example, if any anonymous request is coming to a database, current legacy system will provide, it will say, okay, you are having a authentication now, you can access the data, and same way the data gets leaked or breached. Now what we are doing, we are providing smart functions, 5 different security layers of smart function on top of the data. So any accessibility which are coming or any request which are coming from outside computers or outside users, first of all, it will identify whether the request is genuine, whether it is been coming from specific user validated, they are verified. After all the capabilities, all the security measures which are taken place, then only it is allowed to view that particular data or to access that particular data. So there are many challenges which has a problem solution approach using the emerging technologies.
Okay, so very quickly, we have 15 minutes left. So I'm just quickly going to flag a couple of points and then very interesting thing sir said about the drones. The drones are already being used by the forest department, be used by women, SHGs to identify forest fires. It's brilliant, it's working very well. It's something quite similar to what you said. Going to the cyber security issue, it's very critical. There are 2 levels of issues. One is building awareness. All of us need to be aware. We need not click. But despite being aware, let me tell you, there are serious issues there. I'll give you an example. There was somebody called Sriki in Karnataka. He hacked the system. It's called a man-in-the-middle attack. Sorry, no gender bias here. It's called man-in-the-middle attack. So I send a payment to somebody, and before it reaches the other person, it's hacked in between and transferred. Right? So man in the middle of attacks, ransomware, DDoS, all of this you see. These are serious systemic issues which need to be addressed as well. One is, at one level, cybersecurity is awareness, I agree. On another level, it's also infrastructural. And third, we need to be keeping in mind, I'm a tech guy, all our encryption is currently will be smashed by quantum computers, which are coming, right? So we need to keep that in mind. But coming back to this point, sir made a point on blockchain, and 2 issues I want to raise for all of you here. When we talk of technology, where is climate in this technology? It requires vast computing power. What are we doing here? On one hand, we are saying, let's preserve our planet, let's be careful, let's make sure that energy is properly used. On the other side, we have AI which requires phenomenal computing power. So how do you resolve this issue? That's one, right? Second, that is one issue. 2 is the issue of, everybody spoke of data. Very interesting sets, and I'll try and summarize this discussion from memory and share it with everybody in NEHDC. Data is as good as you get. I've been a data guy for 36 years. Garbage in, garbage out, right? You have bias in data. You have lack of representation in data. I'll give you the example of a healthcare cardiac MRI, AI-led, which was used in the US, tried to be applied elsewhere. It was particularly applicable to Caucasians. It wasn't working on other ethnic origins. So what do you do with data bias? What do you do with data representativeness? And how do you use data ethically? Ethical issues in use of data. These are things I would like last thoughts from all of you. If we can go around the room. We have 15 minutes. We have 10 minutes, quickly. Two minutes, all of us? You have the first one.
Yeah, so actually there's so many things you have said, it's very difficult to where to start, See, all these things are technical issues. They are there, but I know, and they are getting solved. The solutions are being found. We have to be aware of them. That is, I agree with you. But let me, since you have made it so open-ended, let me spend 1 minute in telling you a specific problem in the Northeast. Adoption culture, the adoption of technology. We need manpower. Somebody mentioned about skilling. One of the major issues is that the number of students passing out from school who are taking up science, in Assam the statistics is around 12%. Okay? And similarly in all the other Northeast states except for Manipur. So if only 12% of the students are taking up science, and these are now only out of that 5% only will be doing, graduation or engineering, there is a base is very small. So we have to go down to the school level, make the school level become better. So essentially what does this mean? It means that it's a chicken and egg problem. Unless the economy grows, technology absorption is not going to be easy. But technology absorption requires the economy to grow, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I will give a very generic statement again, because there's lots of things, I think lots of different views. But in terms of security and cyber security, right, what we need to understand is who owns the data. So if you're running a business or if you're using any computing system, right, you need to understand that your data is consumed by someone and that data sits somewhere physically, okay? Most of the software that we use nowadays, right, the data is owned by US companies, right? So there are very few, like UPI is one wonderful example where the data sits in India. So that's a wonderful example of data security, data privacy. So that's one aspect. The second thing I wanted to talk about is I think this discussion is more about inspiring how to use technology in different sectors. So there, right, I feel like Northeast, even though it's different, I feel the problems are being solved. There are lots of other companies, or rather lots of other regions where similar problems are being solved. So first thing, if you're trying to run a business, or if you're interested in any technology, I would request you to search first in Google that this is my problem. Now it's even easier. You can just give the prompt, nice prompt to ChatGPT. This is my problem. Is there any tool to solve this problem? Because I think almost certainly, you'll find that someone has actually solved this problem by using a tool. So that is the number one aspect. So usage of tools. If you're running a business, if you want to run a business, I think, and if you want to adopt technology, right, I think the tools are already there. The more usage of tools, the better technology enabled you are. That's plain and simple.
I'll just make a very short point. I think technology and digital transformation, you have to look ahead, not look at the back. So if one change that I could propose, and there's a lot of people from the government here, is when you're looking at a technology transformation project, you typically look at the 5 years experience, 10 years experience. Anybody who has an experience beyond 3 years should not get qualified, because that's where you need to look ahead, not look behind. And I think as a startup nation, as an innovation nation, I think when you are looking at that, we have to be very, very careful. Just as a point here, when we are talking about authentication, and today there are companies which are saying you don't need password. You don't need passwords to secure yourself, because they are working on a blockchain, biometric, and hard locking with devices, so nobody can come in between. Yes, obviously the communication layer we need to still secure, But so therefore, if you do not look at continuously solutions which are forward-looking, we are going to miss the buzz of how it can be used in a more productive way.
Just last comments briefly. In fact, touch upon what you mentioned about cyber security and data protection, two issues. Very, very critical. While the benefits of adoption of technology, AI, blockchain, IoT are immense, but at the same time, there are risks also associated with it. So while we are embracing technology, while we are using it in everything that we do, whether in the government, within the private sector, whether we are running an e-commerce or handicraft portal or whatever, we have to ensure that we follow the right cybersecurity practices in order to ensure the protection of our data and information. Because any leak or any hack that happens on your portal, or if you lose information, then it's not only a big reputational risk for your business, but with the DPDP Act coming in, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which was passed by the Parliament last year, the rules of it is going to be notified very soon, has got very stringent provisions for all data fiduciaries. If you are holding data of any citizen, personal data, then the responsibilities are and obligations are immense. And the penalties go up to 250 crores. So for anyone who is wanting to go into this field and offering any kind of service and you're dealing with personal data, if anything goes wrong, the costs are very high. So it's very important to build capacities, to have information security policies, have cyber security experts within your team, or get your systems audited to ensure that nothing of that kind happens. So that becomes a very, very important aspect when we start use of technology in whatever we do.
So I would like to add on this. When we are planning for digital transformation, so the basic thing which we need to consider is that the system should be backward integrated and forward integrated. That means whatever technologies we are going to use or whatever technology we are going to integrate with, so it should have a compatibility that can maintain a complete authentication and validation of each and every transactions that are happening between the both system. So this way we can maintain a complete privacy and traceability along with the security of that particular data. So this is something which is of most important parameter when we are making this particular system using the emerging technologies.
Thank you. So, Professor.
Yeah, while you're talking about skillings that Professor Barua also has said, like we are talking about drone, because drones dual applications in Northeast, getting a high quality drone is a very difficult situation. Even I'll tell you, IIT Guwahati has a drone academy, has not been able to get the drones because of the approval from the government. Second thing, even if you have a drones, because we are not being able to teach people, make drone pilots who sits over here and works, that is another sort of things that is requires to be considered. The second thing I was talking about, as Professor Barua said, unless you have the financial power, like everything, all digital economy is running on mobiles, at least Android mobile, smart mobile, all these things, where there is no money, there is no mobiles, and then it fails. Even if they have others and all these things, they are not being able to validate that. Third thing, like you was talking about NHS, this tangible material with a label you can track. Problems we are facing is we are having a genuine organic product, but these are consumable. It may be juice, it may be jam and all these things. How do you track? Technology has to be evolved that these things goes and how you track. So that is where we need to think about it. Third, and one very important thing I'll tell you, although I'm taking a little bit of meat, Surya Ghar, you know, government has given you solar electricity. They are funding it. You get good subsidies. Now you know how it works. You have the inverter they are giving it. It works as long as your line, general line is available from the distribution companies. In hot and very bright sun, if that power corporations has some breakdowns or some power cut, even if the whole system is located at your house, you cannot use it. Okay? Because it is smartly thinks it takes off the whole systems out of it. Now, these are some of the things that technologists has to think. At least at my own home, I should be able to use it. If you want to use it, then you need expensive inverters and batteries to support it. No? Technology, which part is not actually supported by the subsidies. So there's long issues because you are tracked, because everything is now electrical bill to everything is on technology. So we will have to see the things, the moment technology is provided, these adaptations. I am not going to take that system because if it doesn't provide, when there is a power cut from the power supply company, I am generating electricity, neither I can sell it, neither I can use it. Those are the things that we have to think deeply. Sure. I think I'll stop with that.
Yeah. Thank you. That was wonderful. These were brilliant ideas from this brilliant panel. I'd love to take them home. And now I'll open it up. 6 questions. You can direct it to one person or any of those 5, but not me. No questions for me. Just joking. Yes. Go, sir. You need a mic? I'll give.
Hello, myself Dr. Jeet. I'm basically a healthcare management professional. I would like to add what Mr. Abhishek Singh had said, that if at all I have to register for ration card, I have to give my details. If at all I have to go for the driving license, I have to give the details to the concerned department. Now, when it comes to health, what happens is if a person goes to a hospital and if he is a chronic patient, his file and the papers keep piling up. At one point of time, when he is outside, he is not carrying the details and he goes for an emergency procedure or emergency situation he faces, then where are we going to get the data? Now, even if we register in the government portals, even in the government hospitals also, nowadays the NIC and the other organizations have come in, where we have to link it up in a proper way so that a person once registered, he walks into any hospital, at least the basic and these things are covered. Again, Mr. Shekhawat was talking about the data privacy. Now, during COVID, what happened was telemedicine or teleconsultations was the only thing that could be utilized. Many people used WhatsApp as the platform, which is not at all advisable. I worked in we used to follow the ITO guidelines. So if at all the government comes up with these kind of policies, where, because data sharing is very, very, important, and the data privacy. Suppose somebody, especially for the females, if at all he or she is suffering from a gynecological disorder, she doesn't want the entire world to know what she is suffering from. So those are the things which can, I think the proactive actions to be taken from the government side.
Very, very interesting questions, and I would say that, happy to say that part of the thing that you raised is being addressed. The Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission that the National Health Authority under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is implementing, they have laid down this whole schema for electronic health records. And every citizen gets what they call it an Aabha number. It's a health account, Ayushman Bharat Health Account number. 36 crores people, Aabha numbers have been issued already. And once that Aabha number is there, then all your digital health records is available to you and of course to the hospital to which you have gone. Suppose I go to AIIMS and I get an X-ray and I get a CT scan, I go to Apollo, I get an MRI done. And tomorrow I go to Patna and I have to go to an AIIMS Patna and I'm not carrying those papers. The moment I give an Aabha ID there in the Patna hospital, and I give my consent that my information can be pulled on. So that doctor in Patna will be able to see my X-ray and my CT scan from AIIMS and my MRI from Apollo. So that way it allows seamless information sharing with the consent of the patient. And for the patient, there is a health locker, similar to the DigiLocker that is there on all our phones. So DigiLocker account has all my health data that I can access. So my blood reports, my MRIs, and for infant children, their infant growth parameters, vaccination details, all of it is available. So that becomes shareable as per the electronic health record sharing. And Ministry of Health, NHA and MOHW, they also have laid out the policy for data sharing, like what are the obligations for the various health service providers who are having that data or getting access to that data, how long they can do that. telemedicine also similar frameworks have been designed. And of course, after COVID, it picked up, like the eSanjeevani portal that CDAC had built for Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. During February of 2020, it was doing only doctor-to-doctor consultations, that people could use that platform to consult with a specialist doctor. And at that point of time, its capacity was 5,000 consultations per month. Today, after COVID, it was scaled up. Within 2 months, scaled up. And today, it is doing almost 500,000 consultations per day. So it's really, really expanded from 5,000 per month, and it has been now made open for patient-to-doctor consultations also under the eSanjeevani OPD. So these frameworks are kind of addressed towards through these measures.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'll take 2 more questions in the interest of time. We started late, so I'm giving 10 minutes extra, but I don't want to be delinquent. 2 more questions. Ma'am, sir.
Good evening. I am Dr. Jubilee Porcaisto. I come from DRDO. I am Scientist AF, Joint Director of DRDO. Actually, although I don't work right now directly on Northeast India, but I belong to a very remote village of Northeast India that is called Mohishashon village in Assam, Karimganj district of Assam. So I am rooted from there, and mostly probably I understand the problems of the most of the problems of the Northeast India. Keeping that, and in continuation of with what Arunachalam sir just mentioned about, like continuation of your technology, at the same time conservation of the biodiversity of the region is very important. So in continuation of that, what I would just mention in front of you, Northeast India is a hotspot of biodiversity. It is Indo-Burmese biodiversity hotspot, so we cannot actually ignore while improving the technology over that region if we are compromising the biodiversity. So in that case, somewhere we are compromising with the nature. So my humble request to the panel that they should frame all the policies keeping in mind the biodiversity, rich biodiversity of the region. And also my huge regard to the ethnic population, because I have worked during my PhD and other research work, I have done at the root level, going to Dibru-Saikya Biosphere Reserve, crossing Brahmaputra River, staying in the jungle for days together to understand, to collect the important medicinal plants and all. And it is my huge respect for the local populace and the way they are conserving the biodiversity of the region. It's actually because of them we are still saved. And while taking care of all these things, we should be very careful to take their suggestion, whatever technological progress we are making. So sustainable progress, sustainable development is very important for all this digital transformation and all these things. And keeping this, although I don't work right now, but still I keep a connection with my Northeast India, and I have written a book actually. This is called Bioprospecting of Indigenous Bioresources of Northeast India, that is published by Springer. And if anybody like, I can just share a copy of this book. I got a free copy from there. Yeah. So this is my only request is please continue right now directly. Indirectly, I can always contribute because I have some important national project responsibility. I am working for DRDO. So beyond this, I am interested because I got a nomination and I am here. So I just hope any of my input, if it is useful for Northeast India, I am always there. My name is Dr. Jubilee Porcaisto, scientist.
Thank you, ma'am. You raised very important climate issues. Climate-sensitive technology is the order of the day. I mean, processing has to be sensitive to climate. We need to protect Mother Earth. And that's important. Sir, we go to the last question.
Thank you.
And then we'll wind up.
I'm Dr. Nalin Mehta, and I very firmly believe that natural stupidity trumps artificial intelligence. Now, my question is, I was just saying natural stupidity trumps artificial intelligence. And I'm going to talk finances. You spoke of data. You spoke of vernacular. Now, first to identify that the data we have is genuine and without bias. I think that's very crucial to artificial intelligence and machine learning. Secondly, if we are using English primarily, and Google and Facebook, everybody's mentioned, has most of the data, then we will be dependent on technology for which we would be paying somebody else, so the loss would be ours. So we, have to address the finances. And you mentioned, Mr. Singh, we had 250 crore odd penalty. Now, if you're doing a business which is worth 100 odd crores, and there is a risk of breach of data. Recently, I mean, even during the COVID, ICMR had a lot of data breaches which they denied. The government said, no, it did not happen, but everybody has everybody's Aadhaar details, PAN card. So, I mean, data security, we are not very, very gung-ho about data security as of now. With those kind of penalties, would it be fair without established mechanisms set in place for cyber security? I think a lot of people will be then, discouraged from continuing their business for the fear of a penalty of, say, something like 250 crores.
Sir, you answer and I'll also answer.
Yeah, just quickly, the last part of it, like the penalties, of course, 250 crores is the maximum. It's not that in every case 250 crores is given. So always in the case of the quantum of loss and quantum of damage, the Data Protection Board will definitely keep that into mind. But penalties are required. Why? Because traffic challans are there, that's why we follow traffic rules. Otherwise, if there was no challan coming, then everybody will be jumping the red lights. So the rules and penalties and punishments in the law are kept to ensure that people comply with the law. And yes, data security and cyber security is a cost, but it's as important as the software development. If I'm willing to pay for software development, if I'm willing to pay for my data center cost, if I'm willing to pay for my marketing, my social media costs, then I should be willing to pay for my cyber security cost. That should be inherent in the business model, and data privacy first and security first should be part of the design. So that's very important when we are doing this. And with regard to natural stupidity trumping artificial intelligence, we all agree. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about natural stupidity, but there's a lot that we can do about artificial intelligence.
Thank you. That was wonderful. This was a great panel. Please give them a big hand. You did a wonderful job. And thank you. You're such a lovely group. I'd love to take you home. I promise to summarize all the discussions, share it in the group. Right? Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, an interesting discussion today. Well, as India is on the cusp of digital and information and technology transition, Northeast India has already carved a niche in this sector. Now I request Shri Shantanu, Ministry of Donor, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Donor, to kindly honor our panelists with a token of appreciation.